Hi everyone, so I want to talk to you about the meal plan or the meal guide that you're going to be following during your program. So I'm going to talk about the 21 Day Fix meal plan because a lot of the other programs like Hammer and Chisel, first of all, is exactly the same. 21 Day Fix Extreme is essentially exactly the same. And if you're doing one of the other programs, they may be a little different in how they're laid out, but the foods are going to be almost exactly the same. So, want to focus on the 21 Day Fix today. And number one, read your meal plan. So, I actually have the extreme version, and I'll point out any differences. But number one, read this book. First of all, half of it's going to be recipes that you don't obviously need to read, but the first part of it is going to be the most important section for you. I mean, it's literally, 20 pages at most. So, what you want to start with is calculating which bracket you're going to be in. And that is done by first looking at this little chart and doing the calculation. It takes your weight, multiply it by, I think it's 11 in the regular version. In the extreme, you choose which one you're going to be following: lose weight, maintain. Oh, I'm sorry, it's depending on your activity level. You add 450, you subtract 750. If those numbers are different, that's okay. Follow your plan. But what it's going to do is put you into a bracket, okay? And it's going to tell you how many containers of each category you should be eating every single day. Now, this is not a maximum. So when it's telling you need 3 vegetables, you need to eat 3 containers of vegetables per day, not 2. Protein, if it needs you to eat 4 containers of protein, you need to eat 4 containers of protein. Being constantly under containers every day is just as bad as being over. And if you're working out, if any of you happen to be doing like 2 workouts a day, you need to be eating more. If you're not fueling your body correctly, then your body actually stops, and because it thinks it's not going to be fed, and it shuts down in a different way. So you need to be eating food, and you'll actually find this is a lot of food. If you are feeling really hungry consistently, then please reach out to your coach. Let us know, because maybe we need to do some adjustments. You should not be starving all the time. And you should also be eating your meals every 2 to 3 hours. And that you should be eating, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you should be having snacks in between there. We'll talk about how to kind of fit that in with your meal prepping later today, but just keep that in mind. So after that, it'll tell you which foods to eat. It breaks it down by each container, blue container, and it lists all the foods. One thing to note out is that the items towards the top of the list are going to be the more healthy choices compared to the ones at the bottom. So, for example, let's talk about carbs. Carbs are good. You should be eating them, okay? And I admit, this is my weak point. I tend to eat whole grain pasta and whole wheat bread when I should be having like sweet potatoes and quinoa and beans. These are the more healthy options up here. So a couple things I love to point out about the meal plans, the 21 Day Fix at least, is that there are some free foods, okay? And those consist of, first of all, spices. There are pretty much all spices are free. So as long as it's salt-free, you can make things taste good. They should not be bland, okay? Don't make bland food. There's no reason for that. I use garlic powder and onion powder and chili powder and cumin and all this stuff all the time to give it lots of flavor. For salt, use like sea salt. You can use pepper. And then also some other free foods are like extracts. So vanilla extract in your shakes, or if you're making healthy pancakes, vanilla extract helps so much. Vinegars and mustard, these are great free foods. Hot sauce too is another good one. Another thing I point out is, at least in the regular 21-day fix, is you can replace your yellow containers with certain foods 3 times a week. So, for example, if you're doing the regular 21-day fix, you can have wine. You just replace one of your yellow containers with a glass of wine. And when I'm not pregnant, I'll admit that wine and alcohol is my cheats for the week. I can pretty much just stay 100% on plan for food and drink my calories during the weekend. Obviously, the way this is set up, it really helps you think about how to swap things out, how to save it. I remember I started drinking wine with a whole bunch of ice because it lasted longer. It helped me get some water in and stay hydrated, and it made that glass of wine last a lot longer. But same with milks. You know, if you need like a full glass of milk, or maybe you're having cereal, which you can have as long as it's like a whole grain type of cereal with like very little sugar in it. Cereal's hard because there's lots of sugar added to most of them. But I like to add almond milk to my shakes. If you're gonna do all milk in your shakes, be careful because you want to maybe swap out some yellows. But that is some of the important parts of the meal plan, okay? So again, read this through. If you have any questions, post them below. Another few kind of tips that I think are important is, I know this is really hard, okay? Meal prepping is really difficult the first time because you feel overwhelmed. You may be completely changing up the meals and the types of foods that you eat. So I understand that's difficult, and give it time, okay? You may find that your first meal prep week was a flop, but believe me, you're gonna learn from it, and the next week you're gonna feel like a pro. Salads are a great way to get lots of vegetables in. I pre-make all my chicken and I bag it up into red container like portions, so it's ready to throw it together. Dressings are difficult. It's very hard to find a dressing that does not have a whole bunch of added sugar and stuff like that. Honestly, making your own dressing is the best way to do it. It was definitely trial and error for me finding ones that I like, but I found like an apple cider vinaigrette that I absolutely love, and I've been using it for months. I also found a ranch recipe that I make out of Greek yogurt that I absolutely love, and my ranch loving boyfriend absolutely will use it, and I'm shocked. The other thing just to note is, if you're buying things and you're look at the ingredients, okay? For example, like pasta sauce, tomato sauce, salsa, you can have those things, but if you don't want to be buying stuff that has a whole bunch of added sugar and salt to it, because that is what you're trying to avoid. Even just saying organic does not mean it's good. If you look at the ingredients and there's a whole bunch of, if it has more than 5 ingredients and you don't know what some of those are, don't eat it. You are going to be shopping the perimeter of the grocery store, okay? That means really, you know, fresh fruits and vegetables, meats, the basic dairies. You should not be going in and having processed foods. I personally make my own pasta sauce, make my own salsa, because then I feel like I'm not, you may notice in the books that like salsa and pasta sauce are counted as purple, which is fruit. And I thought that was very weird at first. And I realized it's because if you're buying jarred tomato sauce, it's because there's usually some added sugar to it. If you're making your own and you're using stevia instead of sugar, I count it, actually I don't count it at all, but you could count it as a vegetable. But I just don't count it at all because I feel weird making it a vegetable when I need to eat those vegetables, but I don't count it at all. So little tips like that, I hope you find helpful. If you, again, have any questions, please post them below. I know it can be overwhelming at first. but I promise you will learn how to adjust and you'll be successful. So I'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.